Oh, all right. Why did I eat Indian food before recording this? Why did I just eat Indian food? If you haven't heard the news, OnePageRules is redoing their Alien Hives line. And since Alien Hives are kind of my thing, I guess, I did a lot of videos on them when I was first starting out this channel, and I have most of the original models printed out, so I thought it would be fun to do a little comparison here between the new ones and the old ones, and just kind of show off some of the stuff they've added. And this is not a sponsored video, by the way. OnePageRules does sponsor my battle reports, but as far as like me giving my opinion to you guys, like honesty is the most important thing to me, and I'm not going to just hype a product just because I'm being paid for it. So I genuinely do like their products, and for $10 a month, it's just so ridiculous how much you get on a month-to-month basis. But anyway, I just downloaded the files for June. They only put out one model the previous month, so I'm going to go over that as well, and just show you guys some of the new stuff versus some of the old stuff. All right, first up we have the Assault Grunts. So I'm always going to put the old models on the left side and the new models on the right side. So I don't have them like perfectly lined up, but I mean, you can see not too much has changed with these guys. The only thing that they did, I think as far as I can tell, is the old models had a really wide stance. They were pretty much impossible to fit on 25mm bases unless you scaled them down. I just could barely fit these two in particular on the 32s. Their like claws would still kind of stick out. So they changed the stance up a bit so that the hands were facing inward. 32s for sure. I'm not sure about 25s. Just looking at the scale mat, I'm going to say they probably will fit on 25s. Another thing they added was this little buddy here. I guess every single squad is going to come with an optional little buddy that you can put in there on one model, which is something that, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool, but it's not something that I really care about that much. I might print a few of them out. If I like the model, I will, but I don't know. It's just not something that really appeals to me that much. Next up, we have the Assault Prime. On the left here, you have the two original models. I am only going to show the combined models in this video. Otherwise, it would be like an hour and a half long or something ridiculous. But a lot of these, you can kind of pick and choose which weapons you put on these guys. The original files just had this one stance and one weapon. This is the standard 40mm. Let me check here. Yeah, this was the standard 40mm and then the large 46mm. And you can see they've gotten way bigger. They changed up the horn here in the front of the head. I like the look of that a lot better. Looks way more menacing. Other than that, the body looks pretty similar. They also added a lot of weapon options, which is kind of the main feature this month, just adding a ton of new weapon options. They just call this the smashing, whip serrated, and slashing. So you can see these new sculpts and the new weapons are pretty freaking cool. That's interesting, just kind of like this organic mallet with a bunch of horns sticking out randomly. I really like this scythe too. Yeah, these swords are a lot more detailed than the original swords, which were pretty basic. They were just like a spike. Same with the whip too. Next up we have the Prime Gunner, which comes with a ridiculous amount of variants. Pretty much like every option that you could possibly put together, they have a variant for, and these are all combined. So here's the other Prime on this side, so you can see that they are pretty much the same size, just a slightly different sculpt. They actually used the original stance, I think, for these guys. There you can see how much bigger they are. Again, I'm not quite sure what all of these are called. Let's see here. All right, going through each of the new guns. They added 5 guns, I believe. So I'm just going to go through each one of those individually. This is the Spitter gun. Looks like it shoots these little spines, or maybe they're like little bugs that maybe kind of burrow into the enemy. This is the Barb Cannon. I'm just going off of the file name. Again, a ton of spikes, making it just look really organic. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. I really like this one. It has like a maul on the end there. This one's really cool too. This is called the Shredder. Very tryptophobia inducing. Looks like it has like little egg sacs here for the rounds. And I like how the rounds kind of look like they're growing out of the gun here. This is called the Spine Gun. It's kind of like a dual pistol kind of thing. It almost looks like a gaping mouth. You can kind of see how the flesh is kind of like pulling apart there. Then we got the big old acid cannon. Similar design style. It's got this big like sack in the back here. I really like the placement of these spines too. It just creates like a really nice iconic outline. Yeah, honestly, I think I might have to print all of these out. You get all the same weapon options with the Winged Prime. The only difference is that I don't think these guys come with buddies. And as far as I can tell, these guys have pretty much the same sculpt as the originals. They just have way more weapon options. Here's the original standard size alongside the large. So as you can see, it's just way bigger, which these guys do have 3 health apiece, so it makes sense that they would be a little bit larger. And here's the new shooter grunts. Same as the assault grunts, the only thing that they've changed is the stance, just so you can fit them on smaller bases more easily. They re-released the swarm models, which as far as I can tell haven't changed at all. Next we're going to go through the warriors. Just to show you the scale difference, here's the original standard version, standing beside the large version. The sculpts look pretty similar. I don't see the horns on the top of the head pretty much look the same. I think they may have changed the stances up a little bit on these. You actually did get a fair amount of weapon options with the original set, but like I was saying earlier, the original swords were just really basic spikes. And here's the original whip. Most of the shooters came with this rifle, or this sculpt right here. I would always just call this the acid cannon or whatever like special gun I was using. And here's the new set. As you can see, they got all the new upgraded weapon sculpts. Here's the new whip, and you also get winged versions of these, which I don't think they had winged versions before, but now you have them if you want to use them. So these are all the options for the Warrior 1 model. You also have Warrior 2 and Warrior 3. So there's 3 versions of each of these that you get with the new kit. Holy shit. And we're getting into the bigger models here. Here's the Burrower. They definitely did a fantastic job. I do like the original sculpt. It's a little small compared to what it's supposed to be a proxy for. So they definitely fixed that here, and they made it way more dynamic looking. Really like how the face looks. It almost looks like a dragon. It's got a big thick tongue, kind of like spiraling around. And it's got all these like tiny little legs here on the torso. It actually looks like it's kind of buried in the ground a little bit. Like I said, the original sculpt was not that bad. But yeah, this one's definitely better. So with the original, you got 2 different options, and the only real difference was the spines on the back here. Other than that, they're pretty much exactly the same. With this new sculpt, you get 6 different weapon options, but the actual body looks the same. So here you got your basic standard version. You got the smashy version. He's got kind of goofy hammer hands. Probably my least favorite sculpt of all of these. Here's a slightly different standard version. This one's got like torpedo claws. Then you got one with whips. Pretty cool. Not that great for storage purposes, but pretty cool. And then you got this one. It looks like he's kind of flicking the bird. So I think you could probably magnetize these arms if you want, and then just print like 1 or 2 of these out. Yeah, it looks like you'd be able to magnetize these. I have not magnetized any resin models yet. I don't really like the idea of doing it, but it is possible, especially with larger models like this. I think you could definitely magnetize something like this. Just the way that resin can kind of chip makes me hesitant to magnetize it. Next up, we have the Carnivorex, however you want to say it. Here's the old version versus the new version. Now the old version, this is the only option they had, but the new version, they added a ton of options for weapons, shooty weapons mostly. It looks like they may have done a little bit of sculpting on the tail here and added a little bit more texture to his back armor. All right, I'll go through a few of the weapons options here. First, we got the barb cannon. Very cool, very cool. These are pretty much just like larger versions of the other guns. As you can see, you still have this kind of like maw looking thing on the front here, spikes in the back. Here's the Ravager. The acid cannon. Here's the shredder. I don't know how I feel about those bulb thingies in the back there. I'd have to see it painted up. Really wacky looking. And here's the spitter. Pretty cool. Next up we have the Tyrant Beast. Now with the original you got 4 different versions. There was the basic version, a version with a slightly different back, and then you got 2 different versions with the guns. Overall I like the sculpt of the original, but this one they decided to completely redo. Again, it just looks way more like a dragon almost. Like it just has a very like dragon-esque head, whereas in the original it didn't even have eyes. I don't know, I almost like the original head better, but I do like this sculpt, but it's definitely, stylistically it's very different. I just think this really looks more like a fantasy model than a science fiction model to me. And again, that's not to say it looks bad. I think it's a really good sculpt. I'll probably print one out and maybe my opinion will change. You get 3 weapon options with this kit. There's this one that I showed you, and then there's this one, which I'm guessing is probably the acid cannon. Let's see here. Okay, so the basic one is the toxic spray. Then you got the fracture cannon and the biopods. Oh my goodness, 24 attacks. Holy crap. I am definitely going to be printing out the biopod version. I do like these new weapon options a lot. That's really cool. Look at that thing. Yeah, this looks like a lot of fun to paint too. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to switch these guns out, so I don't think you're going to be able to magnetize these. And last but not least, I wanted to show you guys the Devourer Titan. This was the only model that they released in May. So if you missed out on this line originally and you're thinking about starting an army, or you're looking for some good proxies, this is a good time to subscribe because you'll get everything but this model and then everything that they release over the next maybe 2 or 3 months. I'm not sure how long it's going to take because I think they're going through most of the line, maybe like 70%. Don't quote me on that. Quite a few of the models they're redoing. So if you missed out originally, this is a good chance to get the models for pretty cheap because it's only $10 a month for the Patreon. But anyway, yeah, this is the Devourer Titan beside the original Devourer Titan, which came with 2 tongue options, and the new one only has 1 tongue option. And this was a pretty big departure as well as far as like the style. I always thought, I mean, obviously this sculpt isn't that great. I did like the 6 legs. I kind of wish they would have kept that, but I guess they decided not to. But yeah, the original always kind of looked a little derpy. And then the new one is like twice as high at least. Way bigger. Doesn't even fit on my export screen. I gotta show you in layout. He very much looks like a dragon. So I'm wondering if some of the other dragons that they're going to be putting out are going to look similar to this. I like what they've done with the tail. Kind of reminds me of those like aliens in Prometheus, if you know what I'm talking about. Comes with a nice big base. He has a very dynamic pose. I kind of wish the tongue wasn't so big. I don't know if I could possibly scale that down just a little bit maybe. Might try doing that if I ever print him out, which I'm not sure if I will or not. Models this big take like 2 or 3 days for me to print, and it's also like a fair amount of resin. Yeah, you definitely can't argue that the sculpt is much better than the original. And that's pretty much it. If you want to see more videos like this, where I kind of compare the old models to the new models, let me know. I'd be down for doing this, maybe not every month, but maybe I could do another one once they get done releasing everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to get 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That would be pretty awesome. Most of these models will probably be in battle reports eventually on this channel, so subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you later.